Good evening, everyone. I hope you've all been well. Jay Saki here with a review for Monsters University. The theme for tonight's review is one of going back, revisiting, and reassessing movies we liked and asking, how good is it exactly? Really nail down why we liked it. Or in this case, it's me trying to nail down exactly why I liked it. So, I saw Monsters University back in 2013 in theaters. I laughed, I had a good time, and I remember having pretty strong feelings towards the film. And by strong feelings, I mean I had an above average time with it, and it lingered in my mind for some months after. At some point I saw it again on home video, and I still really liked it. But then many years went by and I never went back. And then one evening recently, while feeling bored, I said to myself, Jay Saki, if you liked that movie as much as you think you do, then you should be able to watch it right now and still get a good time out of it. So I watched it again and dared it to disappoint me. So did it disappoint? My summary is as follows. It was still a pleasure to watch. I still laughed a bunch. I did pick up on some problems that should have been ironed out. I was worried at moments that maybe I wouldn't like it anymore. But by the end, it still had a lot of heart that won me over. But is it technically a good movie, or did the filmmakers set out on a mission to trick me into declaring it good by pandering to my personal taste? I love those kinds of movies, the kind where the movie feels like it's a birthday present made just for you. So for those who don't know, this is a prequel to Monsters Incorporated from 2001. It follows the titular characters of Mike Lazowski and Sully back when they were in university studying in the SCARE program. It's the story about making friends, growing up, and facing your inner demons. And there will be spoilers in this review. In short, I recommend watching the movie if you feel like seeing the movie first before hearing me talk about it. So if I had to start off with a negative, I have to say the movie did suffer at moments in the writing department. I have a theory that animated films suffer from overconfidence fueled by knowing it's an animated film with eye-popping character animations that will win over most people who are too willing to lower their expectations because it's animated. So you have scenes in this movie where there is either rushed jokes or dialogue that causes certain interactions to not make as much sense, which even for a kid's film makes me pause and say, surely this could have been done better even for a kid's movie. But it doesn't suffer from that too much. Most of the writing is fine. I say fine, but not great. I think if I had to break this movie down, I'd say the writing is about 20% bad, 60% average, and 20% great. I repeat, the writing is 20% bad, 60% average, 20% great. I expect you're wondering how this translates into me liking it and if I consider it to be, in fact, good. So most of the writing itself is average, but the average writing was about great subject matter. It's like if you made an average movie, but it was a historical drama about something very epic, so it's worth your time to see it. Ernest Hemingway is known, for lack of better words, being very bland in his writing style, but someone told me that it's probably what he has to write about specifically that makes him good. So I think Monsters University might be like that. On one hand, it might come off as overall average in terms of execution, but I think there's some decent stuff here that it has to say, even at the most average of times. As a whole, the movie is about the two main leads, Mike and Sully, along with a bunch of other characters growing and figuring things out. And even though it might come off as simple character writing 101, it still managed to touch on so much about our psychology. Mike is disliked and bullied, but because of this, he doesn't really fear being disliked or disappointing anyone, so he rushes into things with no fear of shame and failure. Solly is a cool kid who's most likely to succeed in the school's SCARE program. He later admits in the film that he acts scary, but deep down he's terrified because he's popular and has his reputation on the line waiting to be destroyed. Maybe that seems simplistic, but the film illustrating that point gave me a lot to think about. This is demonstrated throughout the whole movie. The characters are invited to a house party, and Mike is like, "Awesome, let's go, we have nothing to lose." And Sully is like, "Bad idea, it's probably a setup." And of course, it is a setup and the characters get pranked and humiliated. And you'll notice Mike and Sully do have different reactions that are consistent with their character writing throughout the whole movie. Sully is so terrified of being exposed, he finally cheats. Quick note, this movie features the song Gospel by March 4th Marching Band, and it's a jamming piece of music. Instrumental version with no vocals is the best, which is what you get in the film. I remember back when this hit theaters, I more than once heard people celebrate the movie because the characters fail in the end. People were like, "Isn't it so great the characters fail?" I'm not sure why this in of itself was considered a good thing, but I think your average person fails at his or her initial dream. So this movie was just cathartic in that regard. Kids, your first dream is probably going to be a failure, and you'll be happier when Monsters University shows you that it's more about the friends you made along the way. So these are all things that made me appreciate it. But there's one thing that really dawned on me this time around, and that is I really just like these characters, Mike and Sully. I haven't seen Monsters Incorporated in a long time, but I feel like looking back, Pixar created a really great buddy duo with these guys. There is something just so enjoyable about watching them interact and play off one another. To my memory, I can't think of any other Pixar film that has any two characters who are remotely similar. Removing my personal taste from the subject matter, this movie is probably just a little above average. But if I heard Disney was making a new movie with Mike and Sully, with no exaggeration, it would be high on my list of movies I would look forward to seeing. This movie is probably just okay, but I really do enjoy it. You can add it to the list of animated films endorsed and approved by Jay Saki. Sometimes movies don't always have overall good consistent quality, but sometimes they get enough things right, and you find yourself liking an otherwise average film for just a few good reasons. Remember to never shut your brain off when watching movies, otherwise you won't grow as a person. If the fictional characters on screen are growing as people, then surely we should be growing more. Mike and Sully might just be monsters, but their growth, their journey, their personalities really speak to me. In all my travels and encounters with animated characters in animated movies in all my life, Mike and Sully were always the most human. That is all. That is all I have. Have a good night, everyone.